Hello and welcome to part 6 of our USMC AH-1Z shark mouth helicopter gunship build. It's the 1/35th scale by Academy, and we're up to the rotors at the moment. So I've just glued these onto here, so the center's been detailed and painted, and these are the main braces. So if I turn it over, you'll get a better idea what that's going to look like. There they are there. So get that to focus for me. Maybe not. There we go. So I'm going to let that dry for a bit more. Only done that in the last half hour or so, and then I'll be attaching these. Now, I was thinking of doing a line along here, taping them and doing a line. I might still do that, I'm not sure. Otherwise, I'm going to put them on as they are, and just do some little bit of detail in here where these are. They can be detailed up later. So they'll go on there. That's good. Looking forward to that. What I've also done, or started to do, bring this over, is I've put on one of these wings on the side of the helicopter here. So that's gluing on there now. I've got to be a little bit more careful handling this now, because I've got a few little pieces on here now. There's a little bit there. There's a little piece sticking up here. There's a few pieces that are going to be grey that stick out, so I've got to be just careful. I just make sure I always handle it by here, because I know there's nothing that can be bumped off it. So yeah, so there are a lot of pieces on here that need to be black. So I can't put them on until the final base coat is down. And I'll just put this carefully back over. I'll be attaching the other side here very soon, and that'll be that for those. So the little black pieces, I've just created one little container here. So there's a few pieces, like up on the top there's going to be this little bit, so I painted that separate. These will be last to go on list. There's another bit there, another piece off the front of the windscreen. This here, this will be grey, but the end piece on there will be black, as well as this here will be black. So I'll just spray that separately and then hand paint those black. A few other little bits and pieces in there, that's all going to be put on last. And we've got a couple of little pieces that go into the rotors. I think there's a holes in some of these. See where they are. All right, yeah, so two of the rotors have a little hole there, which is where that goes through. So I've had to paint that separately as well, which is no problem. Just a couple of coats of the NATO black. So that's dried. This will go on there, along with the little pieces. I'll show you on the instructions here. We've got these pieces here, number D21, D22. There's two of each to go on each part of this, and then they come down and they connect into these four corners on here. So they are like the supports up for the blades. They have to be black as well, which I've decided to hand paint them black. I think I have anyway, was it? Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Mainly because they'll be pretty easy to do when they're on, because they're only connecting to parts that are already black. So, no problem. Although, there is the, where is it? Yeah, there is one point where they sit and connect onto these. So they're going to go to the bottom of those 1, 2, 3, 4 spots. So yeah, I might paint just the ends of them, because then I don't have to put a brush near the grey, and I'm not going to risk getting grey where it doesn't, getting black where it shouldn't be. All right, so that's good. Then I'll be working on the rear blades, because that will be step 16. That's putting together the rear blades, which will go together completely different to what that has, but again, more little bits to painting, more areas that need to be detailed separately, and more areas that'll be that NATO black. All right, now all of this are just extra bits. So what I mean is, as soon as I get that other wing and support for the weapons on the other side of that helicopter, I should be able to start priming that. So that's the plan. Yeah, that is the plan. There's lots of little bits and pieces going on at the moment, but it sort of gets that way. Otherwise, you'd be sitting here doing nothing, waiting until paint dries, waiting for paint to dry. All right, be back in a sec when I'm ready to connect the rotors onto this, and we'll see how that looks. Okay, back shortly. Hello, welcome back. So, I've got the rotor glued together. It took me quite a while. It was a bit of a struggle. Couple of things to note if you're building this kit is these little pieces here. These are little brackets that run down. They connect to each rotor. It's hard to show you just what I'm saying, but they connect down through here. They're just a slightly bit too high, so that when you put the top rotor down over the top and it connects onto here, it's going to touch the top of those little pieces, which will leave a gap. They won't sit flush. So if you're building this kit, I would trim the tops of them off just a fraction, so that they're going to go in there. Because I've had to go through, and after I've glued them, because you're supposed to glue them before you put the blades on, I've had to take them off and then trim the 0.5 millimeter off them and glue them back, so that when these clamp down over the top, they would clear and wouldn't leave. They wouldn't touch them and leave a gap. Other than that, it was a little bit fiddly, and some of the connection holes where there are to go in weren't deep enough, and I'm wondering, wow, why is that not pushing in any further? It's because the tabs, the little nubs, were sticking up too high for the hole, so I just cut them off. You don't need them anywhere there. They're for aligning it, of course, but you can align it quite easily just by sight. And the ones down at the bottom end of here, they were fine. No problem at all. Yeah. The other thing was being careful not to scratch anything too. I put one coat, or a couple of coats of paint on these, but I haven't clear coated them. So I've done okay. It might be just a couple tiny little marks that I can fix up, no problem. But I would, if I was to go through connecting all these again, I would probably give them a clear coat as well, just to give it a bit more protection from being handled so much. But yeah, so anyway, they're all on, they're all glued, and I'm going to put this somewhere aside where it'll not get touched, damaged. And when that's dried properly, I will now give it a clear coat. And tiny little scratches there on the underside anyway, so it's not going to matter. So I'll fix it up. Now there's a couple little pins that go either here, which I have painted up. There in here. They will go on, which luckily I thought of that because I just remembered I need to put them on, so I'll do that. And that will complete that, and then I'll have yet to stick the other side of this onto the other side of the helicopter, which I'll do. So I'll do that right now actually, and then we'll come back and have a look at how the helicopter itself's looking. Okay, back in a sec. Okay, welcome back all. So like I said I was going to do, I've glued both sides of these on now. It's been overnight since I last recorded, so that's all dried, and it's starting to look good. Yeah, so I've got those on. I'm looking forward to getting this in an undercoat. And talking about painting, I've completed the rotors. These are all painted up now and gloss coated, clear coat on top, and on both sides. Also the actual inside the mechanism there. Going to show us it, hopefully. Probably not. Camera doesn't like filming black, but trust me when I say that you've got a few little areas, a few bits of chrome and so forth. There you go, gotcha. So that's all looking quite nice in there. I'm still going to do a few little touches on some of these bolts and areas around. I decided not to mask off and do this edge here is supposed to be silver on the blades. I decided not to do that. I may, well, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm happy with the way it looks. I don't want to change it. I didn't do underneath black either. I've left it the color. There is this piece here that's black, and so I'll be touching a few other little bits of black on there as well. It's come up really good. I'm happy with that. It's really nice. Now I'm working on the tail rotor currently, excuse me. So there's pieces. I've got the 4 of these. Now they're painted and clear coated, so they're done. They've come up quite nice too. Now there also is some fine detail on that. We'll see whether I do much with that. There's also the center of the router which connects to the engine, which I built in the earlier video. Again, that's all been done in the camo black, and I'll be doing a little bit of touching up in there with some steel looking colors, bit of aluminium, bit of gunmetal, just to touch up bits on that, as well as there's also a few small parts. There's another little piece there that I did. It looks like it's made of metal, and some of these brackets which go on those blades, the bottom of those blades. So I'll also be putting that together. I painted this, the front camera, so that's all painted up and clear coated. I've left the mask on that. I don't want to take that off yet. I'll leave that till the very end. I fit that up into the nose of the helicopter. And I also painted this, which sits off to the one side of one of the windows on the front of the helicopter. You can see the detail I put in that. So I've done a bit of silver metal look on that. And it's come up all right too. So lots of little fiddly bits. But it's coming on well. So I'm going to get on with... let me see, what was I going to get on with? Yes, the tail rotor. I'll finish that. Then I will just go back through all the steps from the beginning and make sure everything is on here that needs to be on here. Any little pieces that I may have missed. And then it'll be time to give this a spray. Give this a primer coat of the SMS white primer I bought. All right. All right. So I'll be back shortly. Okay, welcome back. So I've done the tail rotor. There's a few little tricky bits in amongst it. It's gone together quite well. That. Focus. There we go. There. So that's all done. And obviously that will connect onto the engine, which goes up on the tail, which I did earlier. And yeah, like the main rotor, that'll go on last. Okay. I'll throw a couple of photos up and get a closer look at what they look like. So that completes step 16. 17 is putting the rotors on the top and the rear of the helicopter, which obviously will be done after it's painted. Over to step 18. There is no step 18. We're done. So I should have everything in place. So like I mentioned before, I'm going to go through from the beginning and make sure everything is on the main body of the helicopter that needs to be on it. And it looks like we can do a bit of priming and a bit of paint work finally. So I'm going to leave that to the next video because this is getting to our half-hour mark. So yeah, it's progressing really well. I'll also create another box like this that has all the parts that will go on after completing the model, because there's still a few little clear lenses to go on some of the external cameras and things that will go on last. So I'll make sure that everything is in here and labeled to go on so we don't get anything mixed up. Okay, well, that's it for this one. Hopefully I'll see you back in part 7. And please comment below if you've got any comments, tips and suggestions on this model, questions, anything at all. Subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the notifications tab so you get notified of when these videos come up. And if you've just come into this video, I suggest you jump back and click on the link that will show up in a second, where it will show the whole playlist for this build. Okay, thanks a lot, and I'll talk to you in the next part. Bye for now.